This is really exciting. Ladies and gentlemen, Nikki Glaser is here. Nikki, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm good. Good to see you too, Tom.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. How are you handling this pandemic? Let's just jump right into that, get that out of the way because it's crazy.
Whenever I ask someone how they're doing right now and someone goes, I'm great actually, I'm really great, I just want to go like, fuck you. Like that's not an appropriate answer. I'm actually, if I'm going to be completely honest, vacillating between a low-grade depression and like severe depression every day.
Wow,
and,
okay.
Yeah, there's really no hope or excitement or enthusiasm for waking up anymore.
Whoa, that's a big statement. No hope or enthusiasm for waking up. Okay, wow.
Yeah, every morning I open my eyes and I go, oh, again. Like, I'm not even joking. And that's, that's something I've struggled with in the past.
Okay.
Having depression and just not wanting to wake up.
Okay.
And taking naps, which one of my favorite jokes of all time was Nick Griffin. He's a stand-up comic, and he has a joke that naps are tiny suicides.
Okay.
And I've always felt that way about sleep. Of just, sleep is the only escape from my current situation, which is actually not that bad. I'm living with my parents in St. Louis, Missouri, and that sounds bad, but my parents are actually fantastic, and their house is great, and I have a little dog that is constantly with me, who is adorable, and like my emotional support animal. My mom cleans my room for me. She folds my laundry. Life is pretty ideal, but I just, having stand-up ripped away from me, which was my kind of like a nightly soothing apparatus of just being able to like kind of shout my thoughts into the ether and have people laugh, was having that taken from me has really made me kind of go into a darker place, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear about that. I wasn't being insensitive, I hope, when I was laughing, because
it's funny. Depression's so funny. And I'm not saying that sarcastically. It actually, you gotta laugh at it because it's ridiculous for me to be sad. There's so many horrible things going on in the world, and that's why I just really I try to have moments of gratitude every day. I mean, right now today's a good day.
Yeah.
Because it really is. This is the first thing I'm doing with my day. I took a nap at 11 a.m. for like 3 hours.
Nice. Which
is like my daily morning nap. Mm-hmm. And then I woke up from that and I'm like, oh, I get to go talk to Tom Green, who, it's insane. I was just talking to you about how it's crazy that we're friends with Bob Saget and what is the world in which he's someone that we could call a friend. But for me to call you a friend is truly like, it just is mind-boggling to me. You're someone I grew up admiring, and I don't mean to say that like I was a little girl and looked up to you and make you feel like old or something. It's not that. It's like I just always comedically really looked up to you and still do, man. I mean,
that is so nice. I mean, that's so nice of you to say. I mean, I feel the same way. I think it's amazing that I get to talk to you. I mean, this is so cool. We got to chat a little bit. We've got to talk a few times out at the comedy clubs, at the Comedy Store, and at the up in New York at the Stand. We had a nice chat that time.
Yeah.
But that's what's really I love about doing stand-up and also about doing this podcast is I get to talk to so many amazing people like yourself. Do you ever get used to that? I mean, you've probably met everybody, right? Do you get used to that?
I really don't. It's not lost on me that the people that I used to admire so much and think and just have posters of them on my walls are now people that like DM me. It's unreal. And I don't get used to it. I'm trying to think of the last one that really made a mark on me. But you were one though that I was really nervous to meet you and very intimidated. And then it turns out you're just so easy to talk to and very approachable. And
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
It's true though, Tom. It definitely is true. It's very cool to be one of the first guests on your show.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's an honor to have you. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about what you were saying about not having that outlet of doing stand-up, because I know what you're saying. Like I can go into dark places myself. I can get down on myself, and getting up on stage and doing stand-up, every night is something that really, you look forward to as a comedian. And then when you get that adrenaline rush and you builds up throughout the day, and then you blurt out all your thoughts and ideas and things that you're afraid of or think are funny, and then you feel so great afterwards. Could you describe that feeling to you and that process to you, for you to
Yeah.
people? Yeah.
I mean, I think it early on it was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to go on stage, and it's just such a thrill, and I would have this adrenaline, I wouldn't be able to go to sleep afterwards. And then after doing it for 16 years, I just kind of was like, oh, I got another set tonight, and I kind of just really, took it for granted towards the end. And I call it the end because it just doesn't feel like it's coming back anytime soon. But,
Yeah.
back in February, or I think we hung out maybe in like January or something around there, I was really at my, I was not thrilled by going on stage anymore. It felt very pedestrian and like just, oh God, I got to go do this. I was just, like just going from set to set, kind of just resentful that I even booked these sets. And of course I go on stage and I have fun, but I was really just like not enjoying it anymore. And then it went away, and I realized that it really meant a lot to me because, like you said, it's just a way to purge all of these thoughts and feelings and make sense of them all. It's almost having like a mini therapy session every night, and just getting to just release a bunch of garbage in your head and make sense of it. And now I don't have that. I mean, I'm trying to journal, which isn't really the same because you don't get feedback from your journal of like, that's funny, that's not. And even though I leave them lying around the house waiting for my parents to find them and be like, you should use that bit. But I just, not having the feedback, not having the, that I hate to admit it, but that's something that I really crave is attention from people and wanting to be in the center of attention and feeling special, because I grew up, I think, just feeling so invisible and so worthless because I felt invisible. I mean, I really put a lot of my self-worth on whether or not people saw me, which is a false sense of self anyway, of what other people think of you. But this time without getting stage time has really made me have to find a sense of purpose and self-esteem that isn't from other people. And it's really hard and it's not easy to come by. But that is what I miss the most, is just like validation, like you're funny, you're good, you're special. And you just don't get that if you don't go on stage every night.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there is maybe the fact that a little break might be good then, but now you realize how much you love it. And, like you said, you maybe were a little burnt out on doing all these sets. And I think that was November. I was right before November or December. Okay. I was up in New York, which I had so much fun up in New York. I was really looking forward to coming back to New York more this year.
God, Tom, it was awesome having. I was looking so forward to you moving there permanently and just being a part of the scene, because you're just someone, I was just shocked by how real you could be and how you're just such a stand-up in the sense that you sit down at a table and it's just truth coming out right away. And it's just, we talk to each other in a way that we would only most people only talk to their therapists. And we just start from a place of that. And you were that right away. And I just felt like, God, this guy, I feel like I've been friends with him for years the way we're talking. And
that's cool.
So I look forward to a world in which we live in the same town and can hang out regularly, because you're the real deal, man.
Oh, that's nice. That's really nice to hear. Well, I had so much fun in New York, and so many great comics in New York, of course, and everyone was really nice there, and I was having so much fun, but I was really looking forward to spending more time there this year. When you started doing stand-up, how old were you? And I mean, did you immediately realize, okay, this is what I'm going to do? This is a cathartic thing. I'm getting all these feelings out there. And how did that evolve in the early years?
Yeah, it was almost like if you wrote a movie about a girl discovering what she wants to do the rest of her life. I mean, it was that moment where I first went on stage. My friends in college, my freshman year, kept telling me, you got to do stand-up, you got to do stand-up. I really wasn't a fan of stand-up. I mean, I saw it here and there growing up, but it wasn't something I was obsessed with like a lot of comics are before they become comedians. Uh-huh. It was always in the periphery. I was more of an SNL, Seinfeld, Friends, Conan, Tom Green, like those were my comedy idols and icons. And so stand up to me wasn't even an option, but you just hear enough when you're a directionless 18-year-old who doesn't know what they want to do with their life. I mean, I thought I wanted to be an actress, but it turns out you have to be, I just wasn't naturally great at it. You know, I was always auditioning for plays, and I'd be like, I think I would get the role of Anne Frank in our high school play, and I would get Jewish townsperson B over and over again, just in every production. I was always just nothing special. I just wanted to be naturally good at something. I'd never once been just, wow, you're a phenom. That's what I wanted. And stand up, when I did it the first time, it felt that way. It felt like, oh, I'm better at this than most people upon just the first try.
Yeah.
Which is, I just wanted a glimmer of hope in that way. And so as soon as I went on stage for the first time, I got off stage and I called my dad. And my dad had been listening because my friend had been holding her cell phone. It was on campus. I was away at school, and it was on campus.
Right.
She was holding her phone up for my dad, and he was listening from St. Louis and heard me kill whatever that was my first time. Who knows how I really did, you know? But
I'm sure
I got
you
off stage.
did.
I remember calling him and crying. Like, and I'm not someone who cries over happiness. I rarely cry even over sadness. I'm kind of devoid of emotion a lot of times, and I was on a lot of Prozac at this time, so the fact that I cried means something.
Okay.
And I was like, I know what I want to do. I want to quit school. I want to do stand up. This is it. I'm in love. It felt like a love at first sight kind of deal, and it was really emotional because I was pretty suicidal at the time. I was very depressed. I had an eating disorder I was on the brink of dying from it. I was hospitalized and all these things. And I really didn't know what to do to beat it, because I had tried everything. I'd gone to so many doctors. I just couldn't eat, and I didn't know what to do. And that was, and what I needed really, among other things, was a reason to live. And I didn't have one. I didn't have, I had my dogs and I had my family, but I didn't have a purpose. And that's what stand-up finally gave me, was like, oh my God, I'm good at something. Okay, I'm going to try to start eating. Let me try to figure out how to do this. So,
wow. Okay.
I mean, I think I performed on a Friday night, and that Monday I called up a school therapist to be like, how do I figure out how to start eating? Because I got to do comedy.
Wow, that's an amazing thing. Well, I'm so glad that you did, because that's an amazing story. And I mean, do you think that young people out there should, if they're feeling down, and they should get out and try doing stand-up? Or, I mean, it's obviously you were naturally gifted at it, and probably most people would get up and probably get more depressed, I guess, right? If they get up and bomb and can't do anything right,
I've submitted to the medical association that they should update their manuals as listing stand-up comedy as a treatment for anorexia nervosa, but I keep getting denied. What I do think is that you need to find something that you love and that you're good at, and because sometimes it's just not enough to just get better, because you don't see a life that can be better than whatever state you're in. I really didn't see any hope, and I relate to that feeling even today. Like, there are sometimes I'm so depressed that even stand-up can't get me out of bed, or feeling like I have any purpose or worth or value. And I have to really dig deep and find that on a daily basis sometimes. I'm starting from, like I said, sometimes I wake up and I'm just like, oh God, I have to live again. And I'm
so sorry to hear that, but you know what? I know what you're saying, because
relatable.
I feel like sometimes very, especially now with everything going on in the world, and I'm actually isolating at home by myself. Okay, so that's really fun.
Wow.
I've been here in my house for 2 months in Los Angeles. I talked to my parents up in Canada, but I just happen to be, alone in my house, single right now. If I sometimes think, man, if I was, I don't want to say anything about that, but I'm just kind of glad I'm alone right now. That's all I want to say. But but I do think sometimes when you get into your own head like that, and you start thinking constantly about everything, and that kind of can wear you down. That also is kind of what being a comedian is, right? Like that's where you find all those dark and ridiculous and hilarious things, right? So sometimes you can maybe be a little grateful for that too, I
I'm
guess.
so grateful for I am grateful that I am a depressed person who overthinks and has low self-esteem and all of these things that I wouldn't want to wish on my daughter if I had one.
Yeah.
But for me, there are parts of me, and I don't want to say that like you can't be funny or creative unless you're depressed, because I know in the past I've gotten treatment for my depression and haven't been at times. I think right now it's pretty situational because I do take antidepressants. I do see a therapist. I do meditate every day. And those have really helped with my depression. There was never a part of me that was like, I don't want to not be depressed. Like depression sucks. So I'm always trying to get out of it. I think a lot of comedians don't want to take medication because they're like, well, where will my funny come from? And it's like, no, you still think really dark, terrible thoughts. Those don't go away. They're just not going to potentially kill you, I don't think. But yeah, I'm grateful for how weird my thoughts are. I mean, yeah, that's definitely my advantage. And as a performer, and also just the sense that I think it's important. That's why I talk so candidly about these things, is because people just feel so alone with their dark thoughts. And I feel like it's a little much when I open an interview like, yeah, I don't want to get out of bed in the morning, but now more than ever, people need to hear that, the celebrities are just like you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would think that somebody out there who is suffering and going through feelings of depression and anxiety right now, which is prevalent in the world because of what's happening, and it was before too, to hear someone like yourself, who they know as being this hilarious person on stage and with so full of life and energy and comedy, to know that you're going through that must actually give people a lot of hope, right?
Yeah, I know that it helps me to hear people that I think have it all don't have it all. So I always try to dispel the image that I'm just like killing it. Yeah. And it's funny. I mean, Tom, I can tell that you're like sometimes a depressed dude, right? Like, do you get a little sad sometimes?
Oh yeah, sure, I do. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I find what I've found lately that I used to drink a lot more. Okay. And I found that when I cut back on the booze a few years ago, I actually feel much better. And I think the thing that's missing in my life is exercise. I think I actually have to get more exercise. Yeah, but I do get down, and the stand-up helps, and that's been a really good thing for me too. So now, what's that?
Quitting drinking for me was, one of the best things I've ever done for myself. Do I miss it? Yes.
Yeah.
Do I wish I could have just a few? Yes. But it's been almost 9 years for me now of not drinking. And I recently quit smoking pot because I was finding that was becoming a daily habit just to make myself feel a little better. And so I'm in day 4 of no pot. And boy, do I miss it. And my stuff left till day 5.
A lot of energy probably now. Well, that's good. That's very good. So just to talk about, comedy a little more and your material and the things that you talk about and how you found that, how you found your style and when you started doing stand-up, did you immediately know what you wanted to talk about, and how did that evolve and to where you are now?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I rarely even think about where my material comes from or what I like to talk about and why I like to talk about it. But it has definitely been a transition, because I started when I was 18 and I had nothing to talk about. I mean, the biggest thing in my life was my eating disorder, and there was no way I was going to talk about that, even though it was literally what you saw. I mean, I looked ridiculous, and it is a reason why I was so funny in college, is because I came to college and I was so thin that no one wanted to be friends with me. And then I was like, well, the only way to make friends is to become really, really funny. So that's like what kind of spurred me to develop this like larger than life kind of personality. But then once I got better and so when I first got on stage, I remember, and I always tell this to anyone who's listening who wants to try stand-up comedy. Number 1, get on stage as soon as you can. And right now that doesn't mean anything, but get on a Zoom show. There's Zoom open mics happening everywhere. Find where they are and just do it. Write as much material as you can, which is probably going to be less than 3 minutes. And you're going to think it looks like an hour, but it's going to fly by. But just do it sooner than later, because once you start and you love it, you're always going to regret that you didn't start sooner. What I did when I first started, because it is hard to sit down and be like, what am I going to write about? I had no point of view. I wasn't having sex. I didn't have boyfriends. I just wrote as another comedian. I found my favorite comedian, who was Sarah Silverman, became obsessed with her, watched everything she had ever done.
Yeah.
And then I just started writing, what would Sarah write? I literally wrote WWSSW.
Wow, okay.
And I used to just write jokes for her, and I would deliver them in her, like I would kind of do her voice and be like, I think my first joke was, I want to have kids. I would love to get pregnant someday, but I just want to wait until I'm old enough to handle an abortion. So I was just like writing jokes as her.
Right,
because
sure.
I didn't have any kind of identity yet. But then as I went on, those jokes actually got me places. I was a good joke writer. It was very clear from the beginning. In terms of my stage presence was terrible, but that comes with time. And then I think over time, for a while, I was just a one-liner comedian. I was just like, my favorites were Mitch Hedberg and Sarah Silverman, just comics who didn't really go further than just one joke. They kind of stuck to just jumping from one line to the next. And then over time, you write enough one-liners and they all start to take on like, oh, well, I'm writing a lot about this subject. I have like 5 one-liners about that one topic. Let me make that a bit. And then I started kind of building bits, and this is over years. And now when I approach stand-up, which is how I think either like a beginner should approach it as well, and I wish someone would have given me this advice, is just be honest. And I think that's like the new, trend in comedy is just brutal honesty. And it's a lot to do with podcasts and people talking very openly and just having more of a long form forum to be able to explore these thoughts. But people who enjoy comedy just want the truth. And that's what comedy is. It's just the funniest way to tell the absolute truth. And so I go to a place of like, what's the most fucked up thing I can think about, and how do I put that out there and maybe make it relatable to someone? And oftentimes it's not relatable, and then that's when you bomb, because you're putting something out there that you think everyone's going to be like, oh, me too, and everyone's just like, no, that's just you, and it's uncomfortable.
You kind of like, oh, ooh, okay, that's just me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, wow. Have you had examples of that? You don't have to be specific, but times where you've tried something and you've gotten some severe pushback, either from the entertainment industry or on social media. Hey, you can't say that. And how do you feel about that? I
mean, the most, like, I do a daily podcast called You Up, and I do it every day. And it really is just a stream of consciousness and kind of thing where I just sit and talk about what my life is like here at home. It's almost like a personal diary every day. And I was talking the other day about how I ran out of toilet paper in my bathroom. And so I don't like just drip drying. I'm not one of these girls that can just like sit there and just like wait for it to dry and then get on with my day. Okay. I've got places to go, like the other room. Yeah. And so I started using a bath towel, and I would just blot my vagina because I needed something, and I don't want to use my underwear because I have to smell like pee all day. Yeah. So I just used a bath towel once, being like, oh, I'll just like throw this in, I'll just blot it, and my pee is pretty clear. I drink a lot of water, so who cares? Yeah. So I blotted it, and then I threw it on the ground just to remember that's a dirty towel. And then I just kept forgetting to get more toilet paper downstairs out of the storage closet. So I used this towel for like a week, just a pee towel. And and it turns out I thought other people might be doing that, and it turns out it's quite unrelatable to anyone.
People don't really do that. Yeah.
No, it's not a thing. And I kept going in my bathroom and being like, my dog's name is Marion, and I would just walk in and be like, Marion, you peed on my rug again? Like, I would get mad at my dog peeing on my bath mat, but no, it was just my urine-soaked towel.
Yeah.
In the corner.
Wow. Well, it's probably good that you talked about it on that podcast so that people could let you know that maybe you should stop doing that, right?
Well, I would talk about it on the podcast to be like, does anyone else do that? And I get like one guy to be like, I think I did it once when I was drunk in college. So that's not the same as being 36 and sober, living at home with your parents in their own house, using their own towels during a pandemic. But that's my truth.
Wow. So, so your parents must be very proud of you, I'm sure,
are.
and you're living with them now for the quarantine here.
I know.
Is that
What
going
else
well?
would
You
it be?
having fun at home with the folks?
I love living with them. They're actually so fun, and they let me get away with anything. I mean, it went from me living here. I mean, this is the same house I lived at in, from sixth grade through high school, and then again, and after a stint in LA, I moved back home when I was 25. So I've lived here multiple times in my life. Always when I was like broke and down and out, and now I'm pretty successful, and I could get my own place, but I'm just staying here because I honestly love my parents, and they're not going to be around forever. And especially with COVID, who knows? It could be any day. And I'm just like, I'm having the best
Stay
time
inside
with
first.
them.
Yeah, look after yourselves up there. Maybe just
Yeah.
wear a mask or something. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we're all wearing a mask.
Yeah, yeah.
We're all sharing just one.
Yeah.
No, we all are. We're definitely doing, being safe. But it's been so good. My dad plays music live around the city. He plays in grocery stores and different bars and at nursing homes. And he hasn't really been able to perform during the pandemic. And I've never been able to see him live because I'm always, not living in St. Louis. But just now, like some patios of bars started opening up and he's playing outside again. And so I've started singing with him and we've worked on some songs together. So I've been able to, enjoy performing with my dad. And my mom is just one of the funniest people I've ever met. And actually I'm, a lot like you, Tom, I'm going to be, I think, using my parents for a TV show. I'm pitching a reality show that's going to star my parents because they're just gold. They're so funny. They might be funnier than me at times, and I've loved it. I have no friends here, so my parents are kind of my friends, but my parents are cool. I'm not even embarrassing that my parents are my friends. I grew up like trying to smoke weed and like sneak it from them. And now I'm just passing my mom a bowl on the couch as we're watching 90 Day Fiance.
That does sound fun. Yeah.
It's so fun. But it's really making me, I could stay here forever is the problem. And I can't. I got to find a boyfriend or something shitty like that at some point.
I'm guessing also because you're on the road a lot doing stand-up, it is a lot to deal with looking after a house and all of this stuff. I mean, do you spend a significant amount of time when we're not, going through what we're going through now on the road, traveling all over the country?
Every weekend, Tom. Every weekend I was on the road. And I think this has made me be able to take a step back. And I mean, I was either on the road every weekend from Thursday till Saturday and then fly back on Sunday. And then I would do stand-up. Sunday night was the only night I didn't work because I'd be traveling all day. And then Monday through Wednesday, I would do spots around whatever city I was living in, whether it was New York or LA, just to keep sharp for the weekend. Mm-hmm. So this is the only time in my life I've ever, in the past 17 years I've been doing stand-up, that I've been able to just hang out at night and watch TV and kind of wind down and go to bed before 11. And I really love it. So I don't know that I'll go back to a constant life on the road. But it was all I knew, and it was great money. I mean, it was how I made my money, and just in recent years, it's become pretty lucrative, as you know. Like when you're bringing in the crowds, it can be a sweet little check every weekend, and now it's gone. So I'm like, okay, what else can I do? That's why I'm pitching a reality show. I might be writing a book. I mean, have you ever written a book, Tom?
I did once, yeah. I did once. It was about 15 years ago or something like that. Yeah, that's also very cathartic as well because you get to sort of do what you do in stand-up. But I actually just sort of did it with a co-writer, and I sat down and I essentially spoke to him for several months, and we recorded it and turned it into a book. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that might be how I do it because I'm really struggling with it. I've never done anything this difficult before. I sit down to write and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll just go run a half marathon instead. Like I'll go clean the garage. Yeah. I'm gonna go tell my dad I'm gay. I would rather have any kind of difficult discussion or physical endeavor than write a book. There's something about it that's so hard.
Yeah, I think like just to interject real quick because I like talking about this subject because I read a lot of books to get real obscure, but I've read a lot of books by Paar, okay? the 1960s talk show host, and
Sure.
that's how he wrote all of his books. Is he would talk to people. He basically talked to a tape recorder, and as a comedian, it's a great way to do it. You sit down with your mom or sit down with your friends and just tell them all these hilarious and crazy stories, and then you can send that recording off to somebody to transcribe it and edit it, and then you can go through, and it's a lot easier than sitting there, no, now let me, because you don't get that natural funny, comedy instinct when you're sitting there and having to translate it to your typewriter,
Okay, I'm gonna do that. That's a good idea.
Cool. That's cool. Well, listen, it looks like you can have your some stuff to do then for the rest of this crazy thing. Hopefully, this will end soon, and we can get back to doing some stand up. I mean, do you think this is going to be? You think in 2021 we'll be back telling jokes again, or?
I mean, who's to say? I listen, I'm already telling jokes again. I actually did 3 shows last week at a club in St. Louis who did social distance seating.
Oh, okay, yeah. What was that like? What was that like? I haven't done that yet.
I mean, it was fine, but it wasn't great in terms of like how quickly my material is gone, man. I mean, I never took more than a week off of stand up, and even a week would have been just torture for me. So taking nearly 4 months off. I mean, it was like I was just a year in again. I felt completely uncomfortable. By night 2, I had kind of gotten it back. So, you have the muscle memory, but that was the scariest thing. It's really a struggle of what to talk about right now, because all the things that you want to talk about that are relevant, you can't really talk about. Like, no one wants to make fun of like so much death or the protests. It's that even though that's all that's to be talked about, but talking about anything other than those things seems so trite and like, who cares, about my dating life, which by the way, there isn't one anymore. There really isn't anything to talk about. So writing new material has been a struggle, and that's why I'm just considering becoming an author or a local singer with my dad's band.
Well, that sounds fun, but don't give up on the stand-up, Nikki. The world needs you. The world needs you on stage, and I know once that starts up again, you'll be right back at it. Well, listen, I just wanted to. I know we don't want to go on and on because I know. I could talk to you all day, but I said I wouldn't. So
I've got a third nap to take today. So
what are your plans for the rest of the day, though, Nikki? And
that's a great question, Tom. I'm actually in about 15 minutes. I'm hopping on to record my daily podcast, which is You Up, which you can find 5 days a week, and it's just short little 30-minute podcasts of just a daily diary, and I have on comedian friends. I would love to have you on at some point.
Oh yeah, I want to do it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And then I think I'm going to go for a run, and then have a talk about producing a reality show. So I've got some calls to make to make me feel like I'm doing something. And then I'm just gonna have dinner with my parents and probably watch this new dating show, Dating Around, on Netflix that I'm kind of obsessed with.
Ah, nice. Okay. Well, Nikki, thank you so much for calling into the show. I appreciate it. That's amazing. It was awesome.
Loved it. You're a great interviewer. I am such a fan. I can't wait to brag to my parents later on that I was on and hanging out with Tom Green earlier today. I can't believe we're friends. It's truly like, it's a marker to me that I'm doing something right in my career, that I know you and get to call you my friend. So
that is very nice. Thank you, Nikki.
So much for having me on your show. I'm serious. I mean every word. So you're the best.
Thanks, Nikki. Okay, well, listen, be safe, and we'll see you soon. Okay, thanks so much. Okay.
Bye, Tom.
Bye, Nikki. Bye. Bye.
Yeah.